Thank you for joining me. I'm Charlotte Smith with BladenOnline, and I have with us here a candidate for U.S. Senate, Mr. Marty Cooke. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we know you're a husband and a father and a Citadel alumni and a county commissioner for Brunswick County. In your opinion, how has your background prepared you to serve as a U.S. Senator?
I really believe that there are two types of individuals that typically serve. One is a politician who a lot of times will tell you anything that you want to hear as long as they stay in office and they have that position. They carry it around like a badge of honor. You have other individuals, and you see them in the public sector a lot of times. Those people you would never know they're even elected official. They're a public servant because they look at it from the standpoint as like a ministry. They look at it as a calling unto their life. And it isn't about them. It's about the constituents that they serve. In Brunswick County, we've done the same thing. It used to be maybe a generation back, these individuals were power brokers, but they're not anymore. We're all collaborative in the way we work, and basically we are public servants because our concern and what we really like to do is help people, and if they have an issue or concern or whatever, we try to address it not only the same day, but generally within about 2 or 3 hours, we're going to get the response that you have. Now, it may be an answer by email, it may be a phone call, but we're going to do that sort of thing. And that's what I want to be able to bring to federal office.
What sets you apart, besides what you just said, from the other candidates on the U.S. Senate ticket?
I have always lived in rural North Carolina. I'm from Anson County originally, which is 45 miles southeast of Charlotte, and I saw my friends and my family who had businesses and farms and everything, that disappeared. My family farm basically disappeared. I live in Brunswick County, which is a rural county. It is not an urban county like Wake or Mecklenburg, someplace like that. So the goods and services that are normally routine in a lot of these areas, the infrastructure, it's more of a challenge to that. I've also lived in Avery County up in the mountains. So I understand that perspective, and my in-laws are from Greensboro. And that being said, I see the differences, but I've always said there's two North Carolinas. There's the rural North Carolina that is underserved, and there's the urban North Carolina that seems like they have everything in the world they need and more. I want to be able to see the jobs come back. I want to be able to see the infrastructure there. I want to see the opportunities be there for these individuals so they don't have to relocate. They don't have to say, I can't live here anymore because of whatever. I want the rural areas to be places that people seek out and come to, and I think that's possible.
Do you have any ideas on how to make that possible?
Yes, I do, because prior to the pandemic, supposedly about 8% of the U.S. public was dealing with remote learning or remote work. And during the pandemic, we saw an entire paradigm shift where we had about 40% of the public that was working was doing it virtually or online. Now what we've gone into a morphing aspect of 20 to 30% of the public can work online. That means you have the opportunity and the ability to live anywhere you want to. So if we have the local areas, be it rural or whatever, if we be able to have the infrastructures needed like high-speed internet and water, sewer, these other types of services that are needed, especially things like schools or parks or any other kind of amenities that would draw in individuals to that area, they're going to come to these areas. It's a lower cost of living. They can be able to have larger homes if need be or whatever versus being in some other area like an urban area. And so what I guess I'm saying is I believe that these are going to be things that people seek out in the years to come.
What are two of the biggest concerns that you feel as a U.S. citizen?
I am very discouraged and frustrated with what I've seen with the election process. I think that the election was very much in question as to the way it was either managed or the way that it came about. I'm concerned about the southern border greatly. I'm concerned about our energy independence. If you go to the gas station right now, you're spending as much as $1 more than you did prior to the election. That's because fracking, that was a technology that's been in existence for over 50 years and is shown to be benign in scope. That was done away with. We saw the Keystone Pipeline that was going to provide 40 to 60,000 jobs went away. But when you saw fracking come in under Trump, the gas prices dropped by about 80 cents immediately. We no longer are energy independent, even though we have the reserves probably better than any other place on the planet. But now what we're doing is we've lost our energy independence. The Second Amendment's another thing. People that have guns are now possibly being called criminals because of a type of gun that they own, which is basically no big deal. And so my point being is that we have a lot of issues right now that are concerning us, and it's just not just one or two things, it's many things that we are seeing. And unfortunately, we're seeing this unravel at an exponential pace since the election.
As a media outlet, we've also encountered some issues with free speech and being locked out of public meetings. How do you feel about those situations?
Well, you know, whenever you have a public meeting, that means just exactly what it is. It's a public meeting. That means that it should be something where there's a free flow of information that is out there from a transparent aspect. You go one or two generations back, they used to talk about the smoke-filled rooms or the agendas that were done in secret or under the table or whatever. We've done everything we can in North Carolina to do away with that. And we've tried to have an open board that we can be able to discuss issues, bring about the people's business in a way that everyone is. I'll tell you another thing, when it's transparent, it's open, there's less concern because people don't have these concerns that there may be, is there some kind of agenda at foot or whatever. They actually know what's going on. It's like I talked to one guy, I said, I don't know what back room they're talking about, a smoke-filled room, because there isn't any. And we've been serving in office for years and there isn't any. Whatever we do is pretty well transparent. So I guess what I'm saying is that it should be an open aspect. And people that are in elected office, they serve at the pleasure of the public. That's what they do. They shouldn't have a tenure for life, and they should be the individuals that do bring the issues before government in a way for the individuals whom they serve.
How do you feel about terms, the term limits?
You know, I've been in office for 12 years, and there's a mixed bag on that, and let me tell you why. If you just get in office and you say, well, he only should serve like 2 years or 4 years or whatever, the problem is it takes a period of time to actually learn how the process works. Once you've been in office a little while, you know who to call, you know the answers, you know how to get it done. If you're not in there long enough, the problem is you've got either individuals who don't know the process, and you've got people that are, if you will, bureaucrats that are running things, and there is no real ability to have oversight. So I guess being commissioner, it took me a few years to really understand it, because what took place was I would get new issues that would come about. And some of them are issues that only come out during an election process. That's not every day, or revaluation, or a tax value thing, something like that. So you start to understand the process, you learn the issues, you know the answers, and when somebody calls you, you know, I know how to fix this, or I know who to ask, or I know who to address, but it takes a little bit of experience. But on the flip side, I think by and large, most of the commissioners I've served with, we feel like we serve for a period of time and then we step down because we don't really have anything additional to add to it. I've been in office for 12 years, and you know, I've been in it, and we're looking for somebody that we think, you know, might really want to step up and take this position, you know, because I'll be out of office. So getting back to your question, I believe there should be a limitation. What that is, I don't know. But I will also say this, that people always say there is a certain type of term limitation in that you do it at the ballot box. The caveat to that is this: the individuals that are in office have a lot of money. They have the franking privilege. They have a lot of things going for them that makes it a very difficult thing for a newcomer to come in. So I think we need to have this aspect of mentoring people. And you see that right now with like David Rouser. He served for Jesse Helms. He understood the process because he served under Jesse Helms. Then he was in the General Assembly. Then he's in the U.S. House. So he's not by any stretch of imagination a introductory aspect. He understands it, and that's why he's able to effectively govern the way he does.
So you mentioned Senator Jesse Helms.
Yeah.
So are there any elected officials, people that you admire or would like to model after?
I'd have to say Jesse Helms is it. I mean, I'm not saying there are not a lot of good people, because I do know there's a lot of good people in office. And there's a lot of people that I'm running with now, really good people. And I've said that to them, and they've said that to me. I mean, they're honorable individuals. And it isn't saying that I'm the best and everybody else is not. That's not my point. I'm not trying to say that at all, because they're very good, honorable people that are running and are serving. But I grew up in the Piedmont section, and Jesse Helms was from that area, and I thought everybody served like Jesse Helms did. Immediately got onto issues that were there. He made your issue his issue. He got back with you. Either he did, a staff member, whatever, and you really knew that he was in a position where he would make sure that everything was okay. Unfortunately, nowadays, I've actually walked the halls of Congress trying to get things done, and I don't get anything but, well, we'll look into it, and I never hear anything back. As a commissioner, I've tried to get things done through it, not with David Rouser's office, but with some others, and I couldn't get anything done. I couldn't get any phone calls returned. I couldn't get anything. So, I'm in the point saying we need to bring it back to the way that we do it at the local level, or like Jesse Helms did, because we need to have that accountability. We have to have that type of representation that I once took for granted and found out that wasn't really the norm.
How do you see your being elected could benefit the citizens?
As a county commissioner, I know the reality of having issues that are of a great concern to a constituent. And that being said, I want to be able to bring that same level of commitment at the federal level. I've worked in television, I've looked in local programming, I've worked in national programming, and people say, oh, there's a great chasm between the two. No, there's not. It's like changing the decimal point. It's like changing things. It's like you delegate things, but you're still the same individual. And it talks about, the watchman on the wall and the biblical aspect. It's the kind of guy that would look after for things that would be taking place. I think that we've been failed on both sides of the aisle. You saw both of those impeachments. That was reprehensible on both cases. And not only that, we let our guard down. We let the Chinese and the Russians pretty much have an open rein to do anything they wanted to, because we were so concerned about trying to impeach an individual who's lawfully elected. I don't want to see that happen anymore. The thing I want to see happen is accountability that's going to take place. I want to have somebody who's going to speak up and step up and stay on the course, versus whether they're worried about whether they're going to get reelected or whether they're going to be thrown under the bus by the media. We need to have people who are statesmen, and I don't see enough of that nowadays. I want to see that brought back.
You talked about the fracking. What other type of economic development issues are there that you think are important?
I think that we have lost a lot of the things that we had a generation or two back, whereas, where I grew up in the Piedmont, my hometown pretty much has fallen apart. Most of the people that I've known either have died or moved away. And you ask the question, why? Because the opportunities were not there. Infrastructure that is needed, the water, the sewer, that's a given, but also high-speed internet. We're doing a lot of stuff online nowadays. As I was saying, a lot of people are working online. We need to have that infrastructure available. But not only that, I think that what we need to do is figure out ways to be able to make our areas appealing. We need to come up with the basic level infrastructure that is needed to appeal to individuals, and we need to reach out to industries and to individuals and say, you need to come and see this. I just went shopping in Elizabethtown, and I have to tell you how refreshing it was. It was a blast. It was like I walked into a place I grew up in. It's like that. And that's the type of thing, that hometown individual service is something that is rare these days, because the proprietor has a family interest vested in it, and it's a generational based perspective. He's carrying on a tradition in his family. If there's a level of pride there, we don't see that these days because we're in big box stores and we order online and everything, but this is special. We need to bring that sort of thing back. We want people to be able to move here and be able to have that type of experience, that type of ambiance. And not only that, in small towns, the entire community looked after each other. If I was a little kid and I was walking around and something was wrong, my parents really didn't have to worry about it because the community looked after each other. We don't see that today. I don't think that's being naive. I think we have the ability, we have an opportunity to bring that back, because nowadays at least 30 to 40% of our American public can be educated virtually. And I will say one other thing too. I want to tell you something. We have a thing called the Brunswick Guarantee in Brunswick County. That means that if you graduate from any type of school in Brunswick County, be it homeschool, charter school, Christian school, public school, you can get your associate's degree for basically nothing. We have worked out a way to be able to do that. So we want everybody to have that opportunity to get a leg up. We want individuals to have that opportunity to get an education, because I know so many people who have told me they didn't have those opportunities. Well, you do now, and we're going to do everything we can to be able to make sure that stays a reality.
Well, I thank you for your time. Do you have a website or anything you'd like for people to visit to find out more about you and your campaign?
Ours is pretty easy to remember. Marty Cooke for Senate. Cooke is spelled C-O-O-K-E. So if you go to martycookeforsenate.com, you get it. If you want to email me, it's on the website. But anyway, it's like anything else. But martycookeforsenate@gmail.com. And our campaign number is 910-998-7111.
When is the election for?
The primary is either going to be in March or May, depending upon the General Assembly and the census. So it can either be as early as March or it can be as late as possibly in May. We don't. Yeah, we've been all over the place. We're going all over the state of North Carolina, and just constantly on the move, going to all kinds of events and things. So.
Well, we appreciate your time very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.